All right, so we are recording now. I put that link in the chat. It's in the invite as well. We're still recording. Okay. So welcome to our October 2022 State TA Day. Cannot believe how fast this year is flying. Don't know about you guys, but it seems like things have really kicked into high gear. So with that being said, we do have a pretty packed meeting as always. Hope we'll be able to get through everything, and I think we will. I'm going to just put the link to the agenda in the chat one more time. That way everyone has it. And to start things off today, we have a brand new team member, and I see her over there. So Alyssa, do you want to hop off mute and introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Pappas, and I am the new employer-based child care grants manager. I already reached out to some of your employer-based child care grant recipients earlier today, so I look forward to building relationships with all of you and them as well. And I am coming from the education world. I was a kindergarten teacher and also an assistant principal for pre-K through first grade. And I'm originally from Texas, but I've been in Denver for the past 2 years in the Aurora area. So again, looking forward to getting to know you all better. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Alyssa. Do you mind putting your email in the chat so folks know how to get in touch with you? And I know you don't have a lot of details on the grant right now, but can I just ask a general question of when do you think the grant is going to open up? Because that's the #1 question I've been hearing.
Yes, for sure. It will be in the first quarter of next year, but that's all the specific detail that I have right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So along with Alyssa, we also have a new team member at Clayton who will be working with us on Colorado Shine. So Katie, are you on here? All right, well, we will come back to Katie. She'll be hopping on soon, I'm sure. But until then, Lilith, do you want to go ahead and do your presentation?
Yes.
Cool.
Let me find my presentation. There we go. All right. I am doing a presentation of the coaching review updates that you all, as an Early Childhood Council staff member, received recently. I'll go ahead and just get started. Oh, that's not start. There we go. So as you know, an audit was performed on the Sugar CRM system last year. And what this did was review expenditures and coaching to ensure that they were being properly documented and aligned with program requirements. In this audit that they went through, one key finding was that unlike spending, Sugar does not have controls that prompt review or approval of coaching records before they are then reconciled and invoiced to the state for reimbursement. A couple of issues that we found in the following key areas were coaching times that started at unusual hours. So we had a lot of coaching hours logged at like midnight to 7 a.m. Another thing we were seeing was coaching reimbursement requests submitted before the coaching was performed and then more than 30 days after. And then the last thing we saw quite a bit of was daily coaching totals that exceeded a typical 8-hour workday. So some were as long as 22 hours of coaching, which in my opinion may be a little long for a coaching visit. After about 10, I might run out of things to say. So with some of these issues found in these key areas, the audit team's recommendation was for our team on the CDEC to create a coaching log review process that councils as well as our team can use and also provide clear documentation for that process. And what that looks like is, sorry, let me go back to this one for just a second. kind of going back to this, and this was not unique to any one council. This was kind of seen unanimously through all of the records we were looking at. We looked at a very large stack of records. And following kind of federal personal expenses guidelines, records have to accurately reflect the work that's being performed, and they have to be supported by a system with internal controls. So like I kind of mentioned, there isn't anything like there is with spending to say, okay, this coaching log came in, we have to review it, make sure the times aren't, 76 hours or whatever it is. And so, that was kind of that based off of that recommendation. So the process now looks a little bit different, but not too different. So basically, coaches will reconcile their logs in EC Connect as usual. Once the log is reconciled in EC Connect, it's going to show up in Sugar with a status that says needs review. What that is going to do is then allow any Sugar user for that council with knowledge of that coach's hours, time commitments, coaching schedule, things like that, to then review those coaching logs. So it could be the grant lead, it could be the navigator, it could be the financial contact, as they sometimes have a lot of that financial backing or documentation for the coaching logs. But whoever it is that your council assigns will then use the report that I've included in this slideshow to open and review each one of those coaching logs and confirm accuracy of the following areas that you see there. So really you want to look at, is it tied to the correct requisition? Is it TSQI? Is it ESQI? Did it accidentally get tied to a capital improvement? We've seen that happen before on the back end. Just making sure it's tied to the right funding stream. Start and end dates, that will kind of alleviate those anomalies we're seeing with coaching logs that are logged several days over the span of several days. Prep and follow-up time is really important, just to make sure that, is the coach logging these hours for hours they spent working with the site? Are they logging more hours doing that prep and follow-up? And then maybe there isn't a whole lot of, and then I see there's some questions coming in, so I will address those in 1 minute. Maybe that's something that, the council wants to talk with the coach about, or maybe there's an explanation for it. The total billable hours, of course, just want to make sure those are right. And then the description of what the coach is doing. And this one is really good for reporting purposes. So if we have to pull a report that says, what were the coaches doing? What were they logging? What were they using these hours for? That's something that we can pull a report and see if there's a detailed description in there. If it just says coaching session, it's a little bit less information. For you as a council, or for us as kind of the program officers, to say, hey, I really know what this coach was doing, or I'd really like to know more. And then that third step is the Sugar user, again, grant lead, navigator, financial contact, is marking that coaching record as accurate and ready to be billed. And that will ensure that that record shows up on your reconciliation report when you're ready to bill to the state. And then, with this, there is an expectation that the coaches are logging these coaching hours no more than, say, like a week after they've happened. Again, we were seeing some of those anomalies come up where coaching logs were being logged sometimes 30 days after a coaching session had taken place. And it's when it appears in the reconciliation report, sometimes that's where we have those weird things where it's like, no, this was supposed to be on this reconciliation report, or, we're getting funky records kind of mixed up. And so it's really just in alignment with making sure that those records are being tracked on time and that you're getting your reimbursements when you're supposed to be getting them. And then, there we go. And then, I want to acknowledge that this feels like a lot for an early childhood council. I acknowledge the piece to it. This is also something that we, need to take on, that is also our responsibility for ensuring this accuracy as well. And so along with that, we'll be providing additional system checks on our end. So we'll have kind of these quarterly checks that we'll do to ensure that these coaching records are correct and don't, aren't going for 22 hours. And like I said, that's it's on us. We're responsible for not catching these issues as well, and we want to use our resources wisely and advocate for more support for councils. And if we are not performing or helping on the back end and supporting this, then really we're not using the system wisely. So there's a list there of anomalies that will be flagged, and basically, if these are flagged, we realize that some councils may do this. There may be some coaching hours that are over 5 hours. It does not mean you cannot log it. There may be coaching logs after 5 p.m., maybe a 6 to an 8. Yes, I see a question there or a comment that, yes, 6 hours because they were going through a rating. Yes. These were kind of the baseline. We want to make sure that they're kind of sticking within this general scope of not being exorbitantly long, not spanning several days, all of these things where we know a coach probably didn't coach for 22 hours because they probably ate and they went home and things like that. So also coaching logs scheduled during a time that overlaps with a different coaching log attributed to the same coach. So if a coach is logging 2 logs, they happen to intersect the times, then it might just be, maybe the coach put it in, not thinking about it, or missed the time setting that up, or maybe it's a workload balance. Maybe there's other things to it. Another aspect would be coaching hours logged 7 days after it's happened, which I kind of addressed, is making sure that coaches are really organizing when they're entering their coaching logs so that there isn't this rush to put them in at the end of the month and 30 days after they've done them. So that's, with any discrepancies that come up, it's not like it can't happen. And I know that it will happen. I want to preface with this could still happen sometimes for some councils. What this system check is going to be for is so that we are checking those records as well. And when we see these anomalies or things that maybe they look a little off, then we can have a discussion with the council and say, hey, I saw that you had 5 coaching hours or 5 coaching logs recorded this month, and they were all 10 hours long. Can you just give me some narrative behind that so I understand what your council's going through? Yes, and it doesn't mean unable to submit. We just want to talk through it. We want to have that open line of communication, that understanding, and also understanding that because of this audit, we had to put a bit of a baseline parameter down as well. And so, again, I want to give a pause for a minute because it feels like one more step. It feels like one more thing to do. And I want to acknowledge that. And I realize that. And yes, it is, it is one more thing to do, but we're in this together. This is helping us with the accountability of funding, which is insanely important to keep providing this and keep providing the support. And so, it's not that you're in it alone. We are also doing these checks on the back end as well. And it is one more step, but it is an important step. I just want to thank you for being flexible, having these questions, being able to work through this and understand the importance of this update.
So yeah, we got a couple of questions here in the chat.
Yes.
So Stacy is saying our QIN logs coaching each month, so there'll be some impacts. So it might be a conversation to have one-on-one and see how to do that. But I know that might be an issue for other councils as well, but that's okay, right? They can, or Stacy, do you want to say a little bit more about your impacts?
Sure. We work with 11 coaches and 3 agencies that we contract with to do this work. And we tried early on having coaches log coaching hours, and we usually spent more time fixing things than if we had just done it ourselves. Also, our navigator is cheaper hourly to pay to do this. So we have an online coaching log that all of our coaching agencies fill out with all the required information, the time they're there, the coach that's doing it, all the details. And then our QI navigator, or now our administrative assistant, when it's time to do billing, they just log them in Sugar, but we have all the detailed backup. So with this extra step, it definitely would hit that 30-day mark for some of them. and some of those things. So that's where, I don't know, it'd just be good to talk through that maybe when we meet next week, Lilith.
And, you know, I have talked to a few other councils about this as well. And, you know, just differences in the way that you're doing coaching and the way that your council set up. I think there are some things like this coming up. And so we can definitely touch base on that and just kind of connect and see, you know, again, where we can't have flexibility, but where there could be spots that we can work through, if that sounds good, Stacy.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
And then,
Yep. And
Yep.
Shelly at a site yesterday, 6 hours. Yes. And if, you know, like I said, these things may still come up. I think it's just, again, hitting on that accountability of funding and doing our part for checking this instead of just saying, oh yeah, coaching looks great. Looks like it's coming in, it's being billed, it's totally fine. We want to be able to see these anomalies that are coming up and then be able to ask those questions and say, hey, I just want to know more about this. I want to connect and understand. And, you know, again, not every council works the same. And so when we have the baseline kind of steps that we have to follow, but we can also understand where each council fits into those steps, then I think that's going to be a more supportive role than just saying nothing and no wiggle room. It's like we have to do something to the system to show that we're checking, but there's also availability to make that your own at following those guidelines, if that makes sense. And then Charlie, you answered, yes, it can still be approved. It may still be flagged, but it doesn't mean you can't approve it. It may just be something that your QRS coordinator will send you a quick email and say, hey, I noticed this. I just wanted to check in and touch base with you, you know, just as they would with any other question that may come up. If a mass email is sent out, the time and date would be the same for all those involved. Will this be flagged? So are you sending, are you, Amanda, are you logging these as coaching hours then in EC Connect for an email being sent out? Or if maybe you have a little bit more information. It's really just if coaching logs are kind of logged at the same time by one coach, then it would be something that, you know, like I said, we would want to ask about and just kind of see like, oh, hey, what happened? And then the council can say, oh, we sent out a mass email, our coach did, and she had to log it. And then that would just be that conversation between, you know, you and your QRS coordinator. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, totally does. I just didn't know. Sometimes it's something big for all of them that I want all my sites to know at one time. And a lot of them will email back and forth with me on questions on it. So I just wanted to make sure, since the time and dates would be exactly the same.
Yes. Yeah. For things like that, you know, coming from Denver's Early Childhood Council, I wasn't quite sure, you know, how many emails were sent. I was really just looking at like the coach.
Hi, how are you? I'm doing.
And so, yes, if something like that happens, you know, like I said, it may still get flagged, but it would be a, hey, what happened here? And then you could totally, you know, say, hey, this happened. And then there would just be more of that understanding. This workflow will take effect November 1st. So it will affect any coaching logs that are logged on November 1st. And then Jessica, would it be helpful when we submit the reimbursements to add a narrative if it's over 5 hours outside of normal business hours? I think if there's some space in the coaching log to do that, that might be helpful. And we can certainly highlight that. There's also a how to record a coaching log documentation now. I'm sure all coaches have been doing this and they're in it, but just in case, it's helpful to kind of see those extra details that you can put in. So we can definitely add it to that if that would be helpful, Jessica, just to say, here's where you could put a narrative if it was going to be over 5 hours. And then will there ever be a need for additional documentation to corroborate the time recorded on the coaching log, timesheets? I think that if, Liz, if a coach is recording their time and it looks wonky, then I think that would again be, I believe Michelle is your QRS coordinator, and she would probably just send an email that said, hey, these times look kind of funky. Can you give me some information or, you know, context? And then you could choose to give a narrative. And if she wanted more, that would be a discussion between you two. There isn't a hard and fast, you have to produce a specific document. It's more opening it up to that discussion and that narrative if we are seeing really weird stuff come out. Does that help, Liz?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks.
Cool. Sometimes, okay, Shelley, sometimes maybe at a home provider's house after hours. Yes, that's something that I think, you know, again, looking at the audit itself, I don't know that they, you know, are necessarily accustomed to how coaching works with a home provider versus a center and things like that. So yes, Charlie, we totally understand that as well. It's really, again, just to have these quarterly checks so that we can run through them and we're not just leaving it up to you guys to be doing all of this additional work, that we're in it and we're also looking at these and we're also, you know, for me at least, familiarizing myself more with how your council's working through their coaching and with their coaches and how that's all being put together. Provide individual councils with their specific audit findings. I do not believe so, but I will check with Karen when she is back. I don't know if they have that individual information. I was not a part of that particular process, if there was one for that, but I just know kind of all together looking at, you know, 25,000 records out of how many records there were, that was the theme that they were seeing, is kind of those inconsistencies. And then,
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We do have to move along. So in terms of the actual audit report, we'll try to look into how to share some of those findings in a more concrete way. And yes, I think we'll also look into looking at a description or a narrative for those anomalies that are recorded in coaching logs to kind of preemptively track them. But we do have to move on to our next presentation. Thank you so much, Lilith. And any other questions on this or anything else, you know, definitely reach out to your QRIS coordinator and we'd be happy to dive more deeply into this. And we are all learning it as well. Emily, you ready to tell us about E&E? I know.
Oh, yeah.
We can't wait.
Hi, everyone. Stanley's here with me today. He's recovering from the flu, and you might hear a really sad stuff. You might hear a really sad cat in the background because I won't let her out. So the big E&E update is that we're planning on opening the application in January. And I'm working on an email to send out to you all. Stop. They can hear you. Please be quiet. Okay. Thank you. And I'm working on an email to send out to you all and hopefully to our licensing group as well around eligibility and kind of some shared messaging. So the eligibility, I can tell you for next round will be pretty much the same. So there is one caveat for family child care homes. So if a family child care home is pursuing their 3 under 2 license, which means they would be adding 1 slot potentially, the maximum they can apply for is $25,000. If it's a family child care home that is either brand new or applying for a large family home license or an experience license, they can apply for up to $50,000. When you're looking at a center, the centers, the maximum they could apply for if they meet their number of slots is $200,000, and the breakdown's still the same. So in order to apply for $50,001 to $100,000, the center would need to add at least 20 slots, with a minimum of 5 of those slots being infant toddler. And then for the $101,000 to $200,000, that center would need to be adding at least 40 slots, with at least 10 of those slots being for kids age 0 to 3 or infants and toddlers, basically. I might be wrong on the age cutoff, so you guys show me some grace here. Infants and toddlers. So that's the same. So the other piece that I just want to till the field for is just really the audit opened up a lot of things in a lot of areas where we just need to tighten things up a bit. And one area is that capital improvement piece. And really you guys as councils were kind of acting as like banks, loaning people money that they didn't have with a project that wasn't complete, with really actually no guarantee that that project would be completed to everyone's satisfaction. And so one piece to keep in mind is that programs will likely, unless your council has a different policy, and we can talk about that, they will need to fully fund and pay for any capital projects and could receive reimbursement after they sign off that the work is complete, and if it needs any inspections and all of that, that work is done. So I think really working with your providers to remind them it is a reimbursement grant, working through what is your council policy around reimbursements, like when will you do reimbursements?
Mom, do I have to color this?
Not right now. I'm in the middle of a meeting. Stop.
Okay.
And so I think working through like how could they access any sort of maybe a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, or a line of credit in general, a small business loan. So we're working on putting together an RFP for a technical assistance vendor that can hopefully help with some of this as well. Because as you all know, none of us are experts in any of this. And this is the part where we needed a lot of support last go round. So the shared messaging piece around that is just so that licensing and all of us are in alignment around like, this is a reimbursement grant, and this is what it means when we say a reimbursement grant. If it's not a large capital project, then things are probably going to be pretty much the same. And in terms of applying, just one moment, please. I just lost my train of thought, but just helping everyone be kind of rowing in the same direction on all of this. So the other piece is, yeah, so we're just working on that. I think some of you had experiences where a provider got an E&E grant last year and just expected you to write them a check and then they were done. And so the other piece around that shared messaging is that depending on the project and what's being applied for, getting approved for the grant is just the first part. And there is work and documentation and things that need to come afterwards. And so just reminding folks that it's a lot to apply potentially, and then you're not necessarily done once you're approved. And again, I think if it can come from all of us as a united front with licensing, with you, with everybody, it'll be better. And so Lisa from ECPAC is asking, are you saying all providers need to pay first and ask for reimbursement versus the council paying the contractor directly? Yeah, so it really depends on how much risk your council is willing to take. So if you pay a contractor directly and the work is not done or is not done to satisfaction and the money needs to be clawed back, you will have to figure out how to get it back. So I think it's really thinking about that piece. By paying the provider directly, that is them implicitly saying that they are satisfied with the work that is completed. So I think that thinking about that piece and working through what that looks like with providers. And like I said, I think that our TA, our technical assistants, once we get that RFP in place, it could help with some of this around like where's the small business funds? How do we access this? And I think there's also through PDG, and Lindsay is on here, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, or maybe you're not still, but I think through the PDG, we have a contract to provide small business support to providers. And so, or to you as a council. So I think that's something that would be appropriate to reach out to them about. So, and then Lisa asks, is this what's going to be on the ECLA call tomorrow? And yeah, it's part of this. So I think really it is a big change in how we've conducted things before. You know, I think really thinking through from a council, what is the level of risk as a council you're willing to take? We're not able, for example, to require bonding of a project. I would say if you or the provider is paying money up front for a deposit or materials and it's a fairly substantial project, that bonding is not unreasonable. That protects your investment. So I think that when we message this and talk about this, one, these are taxpayer dollars. So depending on the project, if a program is not willing to assume a risk, a financial risk on the project, is it, my question is, why is it appropriate to ask the taxpayers to assume that risk for you? And that second piece is, so to think about it that way, and that sounds really horrible, but that's where we're at with this. And the other piece around it is, these are in place to protect the provider and to protect the council and to protect the department. So this isn't because we want to make things harder. We want to say yes. We always want to say yes, y'all. It's really about that protection piece around making sure that the folks that are saying that they're going to do the work are doing the work to the satisfaction of the person asking for it.
All right, Emily, we're a couple minutes over.
Sorry, I never go over, and now I do.
We're running a little late. It's not you, it's the snow. No,
Yeah, so reach out to me. And the other
all good.
piece is, I will stop, Charlie, right after this. We've had a very dedicated group of folks working on revising the MOU as it relates to E&E. And I think when you see, I'm happy to send it to you with like the track changes that we did. You can access it now if you want. Just let me know. I'll send you what we're working on. But this is pretty laid out in the MOU as much as it can be. And I think what I want to emphasize to you all is really being clear in your council is, one, what is your finance policy and reimbursement policy look like so that you can share that with providers? And two, what is your council requirement? So the state can't require bonding. You can as a council. That is your prerogative. We as the state of Colorado cannot require that. So I've gone over. Reach out to me. I'm here to support you. I actually, believe it or not, love doing E&E with y'all. I know it's been a challenge, and we're trying our best to make it as clear and as supportive as it can be. So I'm going to put my email in the chat and my phone number, and I will hope to see all of you or talk with you soon, especially if you have questions or concerns.
Thank you. And Kristen, you're up next, but you also had a comment here in the chat. I was hoping you could just plug that before you dive into your official presentation.
Sure. Yeah, this was to Emily's comment about the PDG support of business practices. I think Emily was thinking of the Small Business Development Center trainings that are done in partnership with their local early childhood councils. And I was just commenting that we should all internally be thinking about talking to our partners at OEdit and Energize Colorado as well, because they've done a lot of gap fund work for childcare providers to think about whether they have additional resources that would support the unique issues that come up with the E&E grants. So that's just, we'll follow up, Emily, with some additional conversations with partners.
And Kristen, can you just tell people what OEDIT stands for?
Yes, that is the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, which oversees our Small Business Development Center network in the state. So they're our sister agency. Thanks for the acronym call out. Okay, should we launch right in, Charlie? All right. Let's see if I got the right screen up here. Yes. So hello, everyone. I was going to say happy Tuesday to you, and it's not Tuesday. Thank God. It's Thursday, I think. We are here for some quick updates on a few of our preschool development grant strategies. And I'm here with my colleagues, Megan LeClaire, Marika Padilla. So I'm going to kick it over to Megan first to just talk to us about an exciting New application opportunity with our PDG inclusion and universal design strategy. So Megan, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I almost said morning. So Kristen and I are living in an alternate reality here. But you are all probably very familiar with the PDG Inclusion and Universal Design Project. It's been going on for a couple of years, and we just wrapped up cohort 3, and cohort 4 is starting very soon. So just like usual for the past 3 cohorts, for this next upcoming one, we're seeking 48 licensed family childcare homes or childcare centers or school-based programs serving children birth through 5 to apply. You'll see on the slide here that cohort members will receive a lengthy list of training and coaching and get to interact with different materials and resources that support children with delays and disabilities. So this is a cohort model, and it runs from January to June. That says 2022. It should say 2023. So that's going to be starting here in the new year. A very exciting thing that you probably know about this is participation helps providers earn points on their Colorado Shines rating and gives them PDIS hours. So the application is linked on the slide deck, which we'll share later, and it's launching early November. So next week sometime. The deadline to apply will be November 18th. And we linked on this slide a document that you can check out just if you're curious, past cohort participants that are separated by county. So if you have a council with multiple counties in your catchment area, you'll have to kind of look through there. But for the past 3 cohorts, there's a nice list. We will share that link, and then we can go forward. So the other thing I will talk to you about is the famed ECC shared measures. So you all know that we wrapped up the initial round of reporting in this past summer, and everything was due in August. And so you'll see that we are here in the yellow arrow at the bottom of this chart. Right now we are analyzing the data and collecting feedback. Well, we already analyzed the data, but now we're collecting feedback from you all in partnership with Government Performance Solutions. And we will incorporate feedback into the next round, and that is always so helpful for us. So thank you all for contributing in that way. The next slide, oh yes, first pause. 30 councils participated, which is huge. That's so incredible. It's been more than I guess we had this initial pilot phase in January, and then the official round, first round, pilot round came out this summer. So the first go around, I think we only had 28. So we were able to get a couple more councils, and those that did not participate either had an extenuating circumstance or were in a staffing transition period. So that's really encouraging and awesome to see all of you took the time to participate, because the data is so rich and will really help you all speak to legislators and also just figure out what's going on in your area and how you can improve. So Kristen, are you going to drop these links? Okay, Kristen's going to drop these links in the chat. If you all did not have a chance to attend the ECLA professional development meeting last Thursday, the 20th, please look at the recording that Megan Lockteff sent out, because that goes through this dashboard. So our data team here at the Department of Early Childhood put together this incredible Early Childhood Council Shared Measures dashboard that has all of your info that you collected and the info on the shared measures that the department collected. And it's all in this incredible dashboard that you can go look at your own council's data specifically, or you could look at just overall data from everyone that contributed to this last pilot round. So for questions on how to use that and what's going on, how to interpret all of that data, watch the recording. The recording was great. Our partner at the department, Stephanie Stout Oswald, gave a really good presentation on how to navigate all of that. And so after you watch that, if you still have questions and you're playing around, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat as well, but it'll be in the slide deck. And if I can't answer it, if Kristen or me can't answer it, then I will send it to our data team and get you an answer as soon as I can. But thank you all very much. Turn it back over to Kristen.
Okay. I know we're running a bit behind, so I'm going to speed through this, but we did want to circle back to you all about the awardees for our second round of the PDG Collaboration and Coordination Planning Mini Grants, as well as the implementation grants that we offered to our round one grantees. As you all may recall, the planning mini grants were developed in concert with ECLA and FRCA with feedback from ECCs and FRCs about creating a grant that would really help resource intentional planning between local partners in order to increase the coordination of their birth to 5 system. And so we offer up to $10,000 per award. For this second round, the funding period is about mid-October, depending on when we get those contracts finalized, into June 30th of 2023. And Marika dropped in the chat a video just covering what our wonderful round one grantees achieved. So these are our 2022-2023 grant recipients. I will not review the content of this given the time that we have, but I hope that you take a look at this list of lead grantees, understanding that each lead grantee has at least one, if not multiple, additional local partners, that they will be creating a plan around these particular topic areas that are listed below their grantee name during the planning grant period, and then being able to move into implementation where that's possible. So yes, thank you, Charlie. I think what's exciting about this grant opportunity is just how the grantees are spread out across the state and the diversity of topics that they're addressing. I'm going to pass it to Marika quickly to tell you about an update on the coordination toolkit that our grantees utilize in their planning process, but that we hope that you all are utilizing all of the time as you work with your local partners.
Thank you, Kristen. So the update for the coordination toolkit now includes a section on coordinating and incorporating family voice. This update was requested based on the feedback from the round one of the preschool development grant coordination and collaboration grantees. And the structure is very similar to the other sections in the toolkit. It has kind of like the why on the top, and then specific steps on how to coordinate a family voice council. There was a specific request to include some information and resources on compensating family voice council members for their time and lived expertise. So we included some additional information on those. Again, the guide is heavily hyperlinked with lots of great resources. And at the end of the section, there are great examples of statewide organizations and entities that are engaged in elevating and including family voices in their decision-making processes and leadership roles. This guide can be found on the Colorado Shines Brighter PDG B-5 tab. I will drop the link here in the chat, and the link is also included in the presentation. And if you have any questions about the guide, the toolkit, please email me. I'll drop my email in the chat as well.
All right, so running through, we just wanted to highlight, we were able to offer through funding from our Family Support Services unit, implementation grant opportunities for our first round of C2 planning mini grantees. And so all of our prior grantees were eligible to apply. We were able to award 2 of our prior grantees, City of Aspen and Teller Park. Again, take a look at their project focus when you have an opportunity. This is for them to continue implementation or start implementation of the plan they developed as they received that first round of funding. One last plug, we have one last business training series for this calendar year through East Colorado SBDCs. This is hyperlinked with the flyer and the registration information, which Marika will drop in the chat. That was fast. Email us the questions. We'll look at chat and turn it over back to Charlie.
That was a lot of information. Thank you so much. I am I'm adding all of the resources that Marika is sharing to the agenda document, so that way you can easily pull them up. I'm just putting them down there on the bottom as additional PDG resources. The work that you guys do is always just so mind-blowing to me, how much change happens so quickly. And we also have Lindsay, Lindsay's here, right? There you are. Cool. Hi, Lindsay. I love your background. I love those flowers. Lindsay's going to be talking about a new grant opportunity.
Great. Let me quick share my screen. All right. First, of those who are here in 2018, can you believe it's been 4 years of preschool development grant? I certainly cannot. And second, Kristen and team obviously need more work to do. And so to that end, we are reapplying for the preschool development grant. Initially, the PDG or preschool development grant was intended to be a one-time opportunity for states. However, Congress continues to fund the program. So they've actually reopened the planning grants to states who are in their final year of their renewal grant. There's 23 of us, and Colorado is one of them. For this round of grants, it's a little bit smaller, but still competitive. So they're expecting to award 10 grants, averaging about $3 million. And again, we're competing against 26 other states and territories, those who are wrapping up their PDG or those who have never received PDG funding previously. Our application is due in about a week and a half on November 7th. And if awarded, we'll receive notice in December and start the project at the end of the year. And it'll be a one-year opportunity. I want to note that this is separate from existing PDG work. So regardless of whether or not we receive this additional funding, it's going to be treated as a separate grant. So we'll continue to move forward with the existing PDG work, and this will be layered on top of that. So the purpose of preschool development grant, for those who are newer to this work, is really to strengthen our state's early childhood system. They did add a strengthened focus this round on workforce initiatives, but they still have a focus on expanding access to services, as well as supporting a more comprehensive mixed delivery system. The approach this time around, again, has been tweaked just a little bit, given changes in our landscape, especially as a result of COVID-19. So a lot of the approaches you see on the screen probably look familiar, but again, I want to emphasize that there's a new priority on supporting the early childhood workforce. And with that, they've expanded the work that states can do to be more inclusive of recruitment, retention, and compensation strategies. They're also strengthening language about aligning to existing funding, particularly the Child Development or Child Care Development Fund. So CCDF, which funds a lot of our early care and learning activities, is a focus here because they see that as a pathway to sustainability, and PDG is really a tool where we can do some innovation too around those same areas of work. For those states who are current PDG grantees, like Colorado, they did want to make sure that or they did give us some additional areas of focus. And so the first one is building on or expanding existing work. So that could be our current PDG work. It could also be work that's happening under the Child Care Development Fund, or it could be stimulus work. So what's our promising practices that should be continued or expanded under the grant? They also wanted states to have an opportunity to address any new or emerging needs resulting from COVID-19 that we previously couldn't address, or that we had barriers to because of the pandemic. And then finally, again, an emphasis on the workforce. Excuse me. So before I go into our activities, the one thing I want to stress is that this is a planning grant. And so the entire year is really meant to engage stakeholders throughout the process of implementing the grant to support the design, the plan, and then the implementation of activities. And so it may not feel like we've been engaging or putting ourselves out there very much to discuss the activities within this grant, because the expectation is that once we're awarded, that work will happen. So for those who were, again, around for the first initial grant, you'll recall that we had to complete a needs assessment. So with this planning grant, we can actually focus on updates to the existing needs assessment. So what are gaps that were identified in that needs assessment that we need to address? What are some emerging needs that we want to explore? That should really be our focus. So for Colorado, we want to update the 2019 needs assessment. So do a little bit of a refresh on that. But we also want to focus on some areas that have been elevated by stakeholders. So again, looking at the impact of COVID-19, addressing access to services for children with special health needs, and doing a deeper dive into the early childhood workforce. There's a number of data sources that currently exist that we'll be able to pull from, but we'll likely be looking to early childhood councils and other local partners to also borrow any needs assessment or work you've also done in this area, so we can represent more regional needs as well. Again, like we had to do in 2019, we need to develop or update our statewide strategic plan. So Colorado has the Colorado Shines Brighter Birth Through 5 strategic plan that was implemented in 2020 and extends through 2025. We'll continue to use that plan. And I think one of the benefits for Colorado is that we've established infrastructure already to make annual updates to that plan. So it's in a pretty good spot. However, we know the needs assessment is going to start telling us some new things, and there's also a number of things that we need to align to. So in 2023, the ECLC will be updating the Early Childhood Colorado framework. So we definitely want to make sure that that's reflected in the strategic plan, as well as any new or updated strategic plans from our local or state partners. We also know that there's a lot of equity planning. So a lot of state departments are developing equity roadmaps, and through the Early Childhood Comprehensive Systems Plans or Systems Grant, there will also be an Early Childhood Equity Action Plan developed with a focus on prenatal to 3. So again, we want to make sure that that work's reflected in the strategic plan. So it might be a more involved update in 2023 than we've seen in previous years. We really want to make sure that we have broad stakeholder engagement around this. So again, I expect the early childhood councils to be key partners who are engaged not only in the planning, but also helping us to reach into communities and get some additional stakeholder feedback. So then we are allowed at the same time to engage in a number of activities where we know there's need to do work. So under activity 3, this is really about ensuring parents are aware of the options that they have to engage in early childhood services, something about parent awareness and parent choice. It's also focusing on parent leadership. So for activity 3, what we're currently proposing is building on existing family leadership efforts. And one population that we've really struggled with is tribal families. And so now that the Department of Early Childhood will have a tribal consultant, we want to partner with them to start engaging with these families and creating a two-way feedback loop so that their voices are counted when we start making decisions. We also want to develop tools to support adoption of the Early Childhood Family Engagement Framework that was released, I want to say earlier this year. I'm losing track of time. So that is a statewide framework to support family engagement at the local, regional, and state levels. And so as folks are looking at that framework, we're realizing that they may not have the tools to support adoption or assessment in terms of how that framework's being used. And then finally, we're taking a recommendation from the Home Visiting Investment Task Force to develop messaging and marketing tools for home visiting. Home visiting is a key piece of our mixed delivery system, and we want to make sure that parents are aware of and can make choices around that service. Then we move into activity 4. So this is about supporting the birth through 5 workforce and disseminating best practices. So to date, a lot of the PDG work in this activity has centered around professional development. It's centered around supporting coaches, consultative support, and so really thinking about the capacity of the current workforce. But we want to make sure that we're responsive to the need and also thinking about recruitment and retention, compensation, quality, all of those bigger questions and aspects of the workforce that Colorado needs to address. So to that end, what we want to do is build on some of the current stimulus-funded activities to support the early care and education workforce. So what we're looking at is engaging in an analysis and developing a plan for a statewide qualification system or career ladder. We're looking at expanding the current center-based compensation pilot to family child care homes. We also want to make sure that the compensation task force that is now convening through the end of the year has funding set aside to actually put into place recommendations. So that's an unfunded task force. So we're going to be a funding source so they can act on the recommendations that come out of that group. And then also expand the business support work. So in addition to training and consultation through small business development centers, addressing the need for coaching on business supports. In addition to the EC workforce, we also want to support the home visiting workforce, and we know that the lessons there can often be applied to other workforces, such as consultative professionals or coaches. The 2 needs that came out of the Home Visiting Investment Task Force around home visitors were training opportunities and recruitment opportunities. And so we want to expand the current child care apprenticeship model to home visitors. So we expect to run a pilot of that program. We also want to study the mileage gap that's impacting compensation for home visitors. We know that reimbursement for mileage is not consistent across sites. And in some cases, home visitors are not being reimbursed. And again, the lessons learned from this can certainly be applied to our consultants and coaches who also need to travel as a significant part of their job. And then I want to go back to the first bullet and kick it to Kristen, because this is an expansion of the work that she's currently doing in partnership with councils and family resource centers to support local organizational capacity.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yes, so we are proposing in our application to be able to try out a few activities that our local organizational capacity work group has identified as being really important to support the efficacy of our local partners who make all these programs happen, who provide all these supports in our Birth to 5 system. And so one aspect of that is being able to fund shared training between family resource centers, early childhood councils, local coordinating organizations, other local partners that speak to needs that were identified in this current PDG year by that work group. And that work group includes ECLA, FRCA, and various individual early childhood councils, and is overseen by GPS. So some of you all will be familiar with Laura Segrist, and she guides us in that important work. So we've identified a number of different shared training opportunities. So that's one thing we are looking forward to being able to implement if we're awarded. The second activity really takes a look at the identified need in the last couple of years of our work together of bringing local partners together in the same space and really supporting facilitated planning collectively at a regional event, and then being able to support with funding that ongoing shared planning. So it's sort of taking the concept of the collaboration and coordination planning mini grants I spoke to earlier, and pairing it with, some of you all may have been involved in the Transition Summit concept, but bringing everybody together around a particular focus area in person to get some professional development in that focus area, have facilitated planning start there with local teams, and then be able to continue to fund that local planning.
Thanks, Kristen. All right. Then we go into activity 5, which is about supporting the overall program quality improvement.
Lindsay, sorry to cut you off. Just so
No.
you know, we
Sure.
have about 2 more minutes and then we got to move on.
Okay, I'll be quick. Thank you, Charlie. So this activity, we cannot actually begin until the needs assessment and strategic planning work is complete. And so we can propose activities. However, we do not anticipate these maybe staying the same once we understand what comes out of the needs assessment and where we should actually focus our assessments. Some other activities, we have to dedicate 5 to 7% of our overall budget to evaluations. So we'll expand our current evaluations. And then we're also able to set aside funding for individuals to participate in the Early Childhood Workforce TA Peer Learning Initiative and Community of Practice. So there's a new Early Childhood Workforce Center that's being stood up. So individuals will be able to participate in work groups beneath that. So I don't know if I have, 30 seconds for questions, but happy to entertain them here. Otherwise, always feel free to reach out to me directly as well.
Yes, we can take it if anybody has any questions. All right, cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I didn't realize you were right at the end.
Nope, that's all right, Charlie. So if awarded, we'll definitely be coming back and working with you to start doing some planning around this. But this is kind of the heads up, and wish us luck, and hopefully we will be back to talk more about this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind emailing me your presentation so I can add it to the agenda. Taryn, I saw you hop on. Welcome. Taryn is going to be talking to us about some exciting things going on with Healthy Childcare Colorado.
I am, I hope. Hey, everybody. I am Taryn Schneider. I'm the Executive Director at Healthy Childcare Colorado, and I am at the Colorado Nonprofit Association's conference today. So apologies if I need to shut my camera off so that you can hear me. The Wi-Fi is a little spotty, but I'm here today just to give you guys a couple of updates. First, the sort of big one is around the pyramid funding that we are going to be releasing, the funding opportunity, and to let you know about a webinar that is happening actually tomorrow. So I'm going to put the link in the chat for you all if you're interested in registering to attend the webinar. We will also be recording this and sharing it out and putting it on the website and everything. So what we're going to be doing is talking through the American Rescue Plan funding that the state has put into supporting the early childhood workforce through health and mental health grants. And part of that is supporting pyramid model implementation across the state, which will really help increase the access to the pyramid model supports, as well as supporting our workforce, which is, dealing with a lot these days. And there's a lot of social emotional needs. And we're hoping that we'll be able to support more of those educators in getting this education, but most importantly, having the strategies that they need to be able to stay in their positions and not get burned out and have the strategies they need. So there are I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview about what's going to be shared tomorrow at the webinar in much more detail. But there's essentially going to be these 2 funding pathways that that can be accessed to help. The first is around pyramid training itself. And so there will be training grants that come out. And this is where I think councils are likely most interested, is around being a training partner with Healthy Childcare Colorado. We will be doing about 22 pyramid trainings, the 45-hour full pyramid training across the state between now and the end of August. I should say January and the end of August. And so we'll be looking for training partners, and those partners can be organizations like yours who might have a pyramid trainer on staff, or you might have someone that you work with regularly who's just in your geographic area who does pyramid trainings. So we're going to be looking for training partners. And those can be organizations or they can be individual people who are certified as a pyramid trainer. Pyramid facilitator is what we're calling it now. And in previous years, it's been called certified as a pyramid trainer through the Pyramid Plus Center. So those are the trainers that are eligible to lead the training. There will be funding that comes along with this that would go directly to the organization or to the trainer as an individual at $5,400. Plus some incentives for the training participants. So upon completion of the training, there would be a stipend available to each of the training participants, as well as teaching materials. So some of you have probably seen, I think you had a presentation recently from the Discovery Source, and they have this great pyramid classroom kit, I think is what they call it. And we will also be able to purchase classroom kits for all of the professionals who complete the pyramid training, which is really exciting. So there will be some great incentives that go along with the funding to just provide the training. And then sort of going a little deeper into a smaller audience of folks, there will be funding as well to provide coaching to up to 50 programs across the state. Again, along that same timeline from January through August, maybe into early September slightly. And that includes about 10 hours of coaching on just pyramid related coaching. Again, that would be delivered by a certified facilitator or a certified coach. And there will also be some observations. So for those of you who are pyramid folks, you'll understand when I say teapot and tippy toes. The teapot is the teaching pyramid observation tool, which is for preschool age. It's the observation tool for preschool age children. And then the tippy toes, which is the teaching pyramid infant toddler observation scale, which is just the infant toddler version of that tool. So the sort of implementation supports include 10 hours of coaching, observation, and stipends, and also some materials for the centers and programs that participate in this program. So if you're interested in learning more about how to apply for those and how you can share this information out in your community, come to the webinar tomorrow. The application for training partners will actually open on November 1st. So come to our website. There will be a new page that shows up on Healthy Child Care's website that talks about these opportunities and has all the links to the applications and everything that you might need to look at this opportunity for your council, for, or to share with childcare programs themselves directly who might be interested. The application will be open, I said November 1st. It closes on December 4th. So it'll be open for a month. And so that's the time frame if you are interested in applying. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to Healthy Child Care Colorado and take a peek at our website. We're going to have some FAQ type of documents on there and everything like that. So I'll pause there and see if there's any questions before I jump into my second agenda item, which is much smaller. But are there any questions that anyone has about what I just shared?
Not seeing any.
I'm counting to 10. Okay. So feel free. I'll put our email address in the chat as well, that we're asking people, if you do have questions, send it to this info@healthychildcare email address, and we'll get back to you all. And I hope to see a lot of you there tomorrow at the webinar. And if you can't make it, I hope that you'll take a moment to look at the materials on the website, share it with the providers in your area, with the trainers and coaches in your area. And then my last thing that I wanted to share with you all is just a quick update. I'm sure you've all heard by now about the Whole Child Consultative Roles Conference that's happening November 29th and December 1st. Just want to do a last sort of plug that registration is still open. We did release the conference schedule just on Tuesday of this week. So all of the sessions have been scheduled, so you can take a look at who's presenting, the titles and descriptions of all the sessions. If you're kind of on the fence about whether you want to come or not, you can now take a look at what the content will be. In addition to the fact that we have Dr. Junlei Lee from Harvard, who will be our keynote speaker. We're really excited to have him. And there's some really great sessions. There's also a plenary session that's been put together by Ellie Miles. Some of you might be familiar with some of the work that she has done in Colorado around mental health consultation. She's put together a great panel with Dr. Walter Gilliam, Dr. Rosemary Allen, and a couple of other folks nationally that are going to do a panel for us. So if you're interested, take a look. Charlie just put the link in the chat box. And if you, that's the conference webpage. And then thank you, Charlie. You're great. You got the schedule in there. So if you're interested, take a peek at that. The conference is $75 for the 2 days. There are scholarships available. So if you are interested in applying for a scholarship, or you have any coaches or consultants in your area that you want to promote this to, let them know that registration's open and there is a scholarship available. The scholarship application closes, I believe it's on November 13th, but it says on the website, so you can check and be sure to promote this with anyone in your area. We're really excited about all the content we had. I think we had 70 proposals come in to present at the conference. So lots of interest and excitement there. And we definitely had some difficult decisions to make around presentations. And in fact, we've even added some 30-minute lunch and learn style sessions just so that we could get more of the content in there. And then all of the sessions will be available actually for 364 days after the conference. So if there's a session that you want to get into, but it was full, you'll be able to look at all of the recordings of all of that for up to a year after the event is over. So I think I'll stop there, see if there's any last questions that anyone has about the conference. All right. Yeah, we hope to see you there. Looking forward to seeing you there, Lisa. Yeah, thanks, Charlie.
Hope you have fun at the conference you're at now. Thanks for jumping into the call. All right, Christy is going to talk to us about the new air quality grant.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Ressler, Stabilization Grants Manager, and just today, you should have received your CDEC newsletter that had information about the Improving Indoor Air Quality Grant. This is a partnership between CDEC and CDPHE, lots of letters. So Department of Early Childhood and Department of Public Health and Environment. We've been working really hard on this application, and I just want to encourage you to read through the FAQ. In the FAQ, you will find application questions, and you're going to find just all the things that you'll need to prepare for this grant. This grant is designed for providers who need to improve their indoor air quality, and they can do so by either purchasing a portable air cleaning unit, retrofitting, replacing, or installing a new HVAC unit. So I know that there are definitely programs that have been waiting for this grant to open, and it's going to open on November 21st. So be sure to check out the link in the newsletter. I also wanted to let you know that starting this week, I've been visiting programs that have been recipients of the stabilization grant, taking pictures of the large purchases that they've been able to make, improvements to their programs, and those visits are going to continue over the next couple of months. I've got a few dates scheduled, so I'm reaching out to providers directly, but just wanted all of you to know that those visits are taking place. Christine Dorme, who is part of our communications team, was able to join me on Monday, and we're just capturing stories of the ways that providers have benefited from the stabilization grant. And like I said, taking those pictures and just really wanting to share in those successes. So thank you, Charlie, for the link for the Improving Indoor Air Quality FAQ. Any questions for me about either the visits or the air quality grant? Okay.
I put one in the chat.
You did. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Is the air quality grant able to reimburse for expenses already incurred or only for expenses after the award is granted? You'll see, Lisa, in the FAQ that we are not reimbursing for previous purchases. So this is for new efforts to improve indoor air quality. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. There's my email if you want to reach out to me directly. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Christy. You were quicker than I thought. So I don't think Tanya's on yet. So Brent, oh, you're there. Great. Sorry. I just chatted you closer to 2:25.
Tanya is here as well. I told her I would speak for her because she's been fighting a cold for a while and kind of has a cough.
Oh, sorry to hear. We wish you well. Thanks, Debbie.
Sure. I have a very, very quick update, and it kind of piggybacks a little bit with Christy and her role with the stabilization grant. So as most of you know, our stabilization grant and our new provider success grant have wrapped up. Throughout that process, we collected quite a bit of data. Providers were required to fill out a monthly attestation on their enrollment information and their operational status. So because of the fact that we collected all of that data, we have asked our specialists not to cite a rule, which is 7.702.33C, which says that providers are required to update the status portal every October and every April. We're not citing that at this point in time because we really don't need that data collected through the status portal because we collected it through the stabilization grant. And we are also trying to determine if this is going to be the way that we'll collect this information in the future. And so we will send out an email to all of our providers as soon as we know what the requirement is going to be for April. As you know, we have a lot of different systems now. This was originally created during the pandemic as a quick way to get information on individuals or programs status. But because we have other systems, it's just not needed. So that's basically it in a nutshell, Charlie. Does anyone have any questions on that one?
Not seeing any questions yet. Debbie, what's the best contact for licensing questions? Actually, I think I know.
Thank you. You probably do know, but it's 303-866-5948. Every day we have a licensing supervisor on duty, and we also have a licensing specialist. So we always encourage people to first, if you have questions, to try to ask the providers to reach out to their specialist. But if councils have questions, they can definitely call either the licensing specialist on duty or the supervisor on duty. And then Charlie, you put let's see, what did you put in the chat?
Oh, I just put the general email, and I'm putting the phone number in as well. That's the right one, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'll add this to the agenda. Thank you. I know licensing has been super busy lately, keeping up with some new systems and things like that, along with everything they already do. So we appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. And thank you for having us on. And I hope everybody has a great day.
You too. Brenda. Yep. See you up there. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, how are you? My turn. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I am your early childhood professional credential manager. I'm going to share a very short slide deck. And the focus of today's conversation is, again, the Early Childhood Educator Tax Credit. I want to review 3 things that folks should think about when they're expecting or anticipating a credit from Colorado. First is that they should have an active credential that is anything from a level 1 to a level 6 early childhood professional credential, and that level can be active in either the 2.0 or the 3.0 system. So if they had an active credential from the older system, it carries over into our newer system. With that in mind, I just want to remind folks, if you have an active credential, at this time, there's no need to put in a second application because you're already eligible for the tax credit with an active credential, okay? The second part of the bill is that you actually would have, in addition to the active credential, you would need to have worked for at least 6 months in a licensed child care center or family home. And then the third part that fits into this credit is your income, your household income. So I just want folks to keep in mind that there's more than one thing that would qualify you for this tax credit. Again, the credential level, the employment, and your household income, okay? All right. These are the awards or the tax credits that are being given. So for a level 1 credential, they would receive a $750 tax credit if those 3 things that I previously mentioned apply. $1,000 for a level 2, and then $1,500 for levels 3 through 6. So here we just have a picture of how we actually calculate or what goes into a credential level, the components and the levels here, and what points and how many components are required at each level. Okay, we have a focus to try and make sure that we are supporting the tax credit for as many people as possible. So I wanted to let folks know that we have these 3 groups in mind. One, and our priority at the beginning of every month is the QRS rating sites. We put everything aside at that time to take care of this first. This generally takes, for the group that we have now reviewing, it generally takes 1 to 2 days, okay? So that's not super time consuming, but because of funding, it is time sensitive. Secondly, we have these 2 groups that previously we had running kind of separately. Those who didn't have an active credential and would be receiving this, and then also those who maybe had a level 1 and 2. This has recently changed. I kept it separate so I could illustrate this for you. But at the moment, what we're doing is we're going to have a chronological review of anybody who had a level 1, a level 2, or no active credential in the 2022 calendar year. So I just wanted to let folks know that we currently, that is our strategy. And then also, I just put all these folks down here because previously, just so you know, prior to this tax credit being initiated, we had about three folks in full-time doing credential reviews. And now we have had a lot of people that we've brought on board to make sure that we can take care of everyone before the end of the calendar year. Okay. And so there's currently 8, and we actually may be adding more as well. Any questions so far?
I have one, Brenda.
Yeah. Please, Lisa, go ahead.
So I had a provider Tuesday evening this week tell me that her credential that she had expired at the end of September this year. So is that enough for the tax credit, or should she go ahead and do a reapplication to update it?
So going back to that previously slide, this would be an answer for her. So let me kind of go back a little bit. So as long as she had an active credential and the employment,
Yep,
so
she's good.
with
That-
September, she's good.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what I was hoping.
Okay,
Thanks.
sure. Oh, Charlie, I don't know if I can read these. Okay. Can we share this? Do you have a one-pager flyer that EC Council can send out? We do, and actually we have updated information going out probably every 2 weeks, at times every week. I'm going to actually be drafting something that will be more accurate to the current time, and you should see that within the next 2 weeks. Sarah, let me read your question. Yeah, let's see here. Sarah, what if they have... Okay, Sarah, I can tell you that what we're doing right now is we have a list pulled, and we're getting to those in chronological order. And I understand that folks are concerned about their application not being attended to yet. But we do have a list of, again, level 1, level 2, and no active credential applicants that we are working through chronologically with 8 full-time employee credentialers. Does that help at all, Sarah? Or do you have a follow-up question? Okay.
Sorry, I was having a hard time unmuting myself, but yes, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, Shelley. Shelley, so you have providers of submitted credentials that expire in November. Again, if they have an active credential in either 2.0 or 3.0 system, they have the employment to support that, the 6 months employment to support that, and the household income also falls in line, then yes.
Brenda, there is a question from another Brenda that I don't know the answer to. Do coaches qualify for this tax credit?
So if a coach has a level 1 through 6 credential and they have worked, the question would be, have they been employed in a child care facility for 6 months? That has to follow as well.
Okay. And then there's another question. Why are Montessori certifications not accepted towards points in the ECPC?
So Montessori certifications can be submitted as professional development hours. I know that previously in the 2.0 system, we had those as what we called qualifying credentials, licenses, and endorsements. That is no longer a component of the new credential. And we only have 2 trainings being accepted for trainings of special recognition. What I would recommend for the Montessori training is that you submit a professional development certificate through external training.
Thanks, Brenda.
Mm-hmm. Elaine, you're so much better at this and giving me questions. Feed me questions, Elaine. Let's see.
I think Jennifer has been raising her hand.
I'm sorry, Jennifer.
So thank you. I have 2 questions, and these are coming from the professionals. First off is we are making sure everybody updates their social security number and their profile so it's an easy match. The third question is, how is the tax person going to know about this tax credit? And then what do I have to give the tax person to say I have a tax credit? Does that make sense?
Great. It does. It's actually a data transfer. So we will actually transfer the credential levels to the Department of Resources. And as far as knowing how long someone has worked in a facility, that will be an attestation through the DOR, through the Department of Revenue.
Okay, and then will there be communication going out to the tax professionals advising of this new tax credit so that it is a question that is asked, just like we ask about tax credits for childcare and those other things?
When you say tax professionals, would you clarify? Are you talking about those preparing your taxes?
The people that do taxes, yeah.
That is a good question, and I'd like to just follow up with a more definitive answer for you. So can I put that kind of in our parking lot, and we can get back to you on that one?
Yes, please, and thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
There's
think
one more
that's-
there's one more that just popped up. Well, there's a couple. So working for a council will not count. It sounds like it'll kind of depend on the credential, correct?
Right. It is an early childhood educator tax credit. And so with that in mind, those 3 caveats were put in place, the 1, 2, 3 slide I had earlier. So if those 3 things are in place, then you're eligible for the tax credit.
Great. Thank you. And then if the in-home site has a teacher working with them, like a large license, does the owner of the site write a letter just like a director would for a center employee? So if somebody is employed by a family child care home provider, it sounds like.
So,
For
okay, there you go.
verification
Thank
power.
you, Amanda. I was just going to ask that. So, Amanda, when we're looking for experience in credential review, we have certain things that, and there's information on the site. But yes, as long as you're a licensed child care facility, you can provide the letter for the experience. Follow up, Amanda? Did that answer your question? Okay, all right. Okay, anything else? I think I'm just going to switch to a thank you here. Let me just say that I know that you all have been patient with us in the credential review and navigating the bill, and that we have a lot of talented staff and thoughtful people working to put early childhood professionals in a place where they can be qualified to do a job in our Colorado programs. So that is a focus of ours. We're going to make sure that we're attending to that as we work through this credential review as well. We're going to review in the same consistent way to make sure that we have qualified people in the classroom. And I did want to talk to you about the deadline as well. So we've posted this in a couple of different places. We are asking folks if they believe that they qualify for under the 3 reasons mentioned earlier, that they submit their application by December 1st. Okay. We have posted that on the homepage for the PDIS account. We have also sent out an email, and I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that we have a December 1 deadline, because we will need time to process those applications submitted up to December 1. Okay. Questions about that? All right. Okay, that's how you get a hold of me. Okay, if you need anything. And Charlie, I'll send this to you. Okay.
Thank you, Brenda. I always love when Brenda gives presentations. You have the natural teacher voice for sure.
Enough years doing that for sure. Thank you, Charlie. And thank you for offering to help with this project as well. We appreciate you.
Oh, yes, of course. This is we understand this is a all hands on deck type of situation when we got this deadline coming up. So we're all happy to contribute. All right, awesome. I feel bad that I rushed everybody at the beginning, because now it looks like we might have some extra time, but I'm going to pass it on to Michelle, who's going to be talking about a really exciting new initiative. Michelle? You will find her. Well, while we're waiting for Michelle, there was something I was just going to touch on briefly. That is, with merit awards, we have been seeing some cases where providers have been receiving merit awards, even though their license date is after the March 11th, 2021 threshold, which is what the threshold was for merit awards. So looking into some of these cases, we've discovered that there is a waiver that providers could sign saying they were providing license exempt care before that date. And that is why they were marked eligible and they could still receive a merit award. So what we're asking is, when you do see an anomaly like that where providers received a merit award, but it looks like they were licensed after, if you could just double check or flag it and let us know so we can double check that they did sign that exempt care waiver. That comes from Metrics, so it's kind of like these two systems working together, and we want to just make sure that they receive the award if they were indeed providing that care beforehand. Because the other thing is, there have been some just random one-off issues that have popped up too, where it marked them as eligible even though they shouldn't have been. So it's not a 100% perfect system, but in those cases, just I know I've had some councils flag those, and I really, really appreciate that. Please continue to do that, just so we can double check that the merit award is going to the folks that it needs to go to. And I see Michelle. Oh yes, Carly, what's up?
So is that an acceptable using that waiver if they're providing exempt care before that open date?
Yes. So if they submitted that to Metrics for their stabilization grant, Metrics uses that data to let us know that they would also be eligible for the merit award. So if they were, basically, if they're eligible for the stabilization grant, they should be eligible for the merit award as well. And that's after they've worked with Metrics to become eligible for the stabilization grant and show that, that's where we get the data for their merit awards. So it's likely, if that box has been checked that they're eligible, they've already worked with Metrics to submit that waiver.
Thank you.
Yes. Cool. All right, Michelle, I see you. Are you ready to present? You're muted, just so you know.
Okay, for some reason, I'm trying to get it up and it's not. It's cutting off when I pull you guys up. So there we go. Let's try this again. And nope.
Do you want to, I can try presenting for you if you want. Sure.
I could get it to present on the right screen. That would be great.
Here, if you want, let me try to do it, and then I can be your driver.
So, well, hi, everybody. Sorry, I stepped out for just a moment, and next thing I know, I was up, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So I apologize for that. So just wanted to hop on and announce some exciting stuff. Is next month, we are partnering with the Department of Defense and Child Care Aware to bring to the state military child care in your neighborhood plus, which is a military fee assistance program that will be offered throughout the state. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Charlie. So the nice thing is that it will offer fee assistance to active military families throughout the state. And we are like the 4th state in the country to offer this program. So we are super excited that we are one of the early adopters of this program. It's just really exciting, especially with the amount of military families we do offer, that we do have in the state, and it will definitely be a plus for offering this to them beyond where they get it currently. So go ahead, Charlie, next slide. So what it will be about, oh, this is the fact sheet, and it is hyperlinked to the PowerPoint. So when we send you guys the PowerPoint, we'll be able to send that. You'll be able to get all those resources as well.
Sorry, it kept pulling up the link instead of clicking.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So what it will be is that programs that are currently recognized in our rating program, Colorado Shines, at a level 5 or higher, or are accredited by one of the following listed accrediting bodies, will qualify to provide and receive these this fee assistance for families who are in active military. And then I've highlighted which ones we currently already work with as recognized alternative pathways in Colorado Shines, such as NAEYC, NECPA, Council on Accreditation. So those are all ones we currently accept as alternative pathways as either a level 3 or a level 4 in our system. Those that do not have highlights next to them are accrediting bodies that they accept with the military child care in your neighborhood program, but we do not have a accredited program within the state of Colorado that has that accreditation. So currently we are working with some of these new accrediting bodies to work with them on getting applications started to be recognized as an alternative pathway as soon as they have a program within the state of Colorado that is accredited under them. So if you have programs that question which accrediting bodies they accept, these are the list at this point, but only the ones that are highlighted are the ones that we currently recognize as an alternative pathway in Colorado Shines. So there is, for more information, I did hyperlink the website that's below, that's specific to the state of Colorado, and what that looks like between Child Care Aware and Colorado, the state of Colorado. What's really cool about the website is that it does pop up specifically for Colorado, what the requirements are. It shares the Colorado Shines information. And if they click on CCR&R information that's on that webpage, either the local CCR&R office will pop up, or the Mile High United Way call center line will pop up for them to call for information for child care resource and referral. So that's what's really cool about this too. So they really are updating all their information to make sure that they are partnering with our agencies as well as being able to offer that whenever anyone moves into the area of Colorado to ask for this care.
Michelle, there's a question on here about the NAFCC, if there's any family child care accrediting bodies that might work with this. Or
so that's really okay. So family child care homes are definitely offered. At this point, there is not a current contract with NAFCC, but they have been up to this point offering waivers to family child care homes that have offered child care to military families that receive this fee assistance. Now, what they have decided is those that are who receive the waiver will be given notice that they have 12 months to start working towards higher quality. So for those programs in particular, they will be required to reach out to early childhood councils to start working towards getting a higher quality rating within Colorado Shines. We are going to be pulling together the specific list of programs that already hold this waiver that currently are not accredited. And we'll be working with individual councils as those come forward so that we can help those programs get in through QI funds and work towards getting rated as a level 3 or higher. But from what we understand, it's not a lot of programs, but family child care homes are a part of this, but they'll be recognized as they'll need to be within Colorado Shines as a level 3 or higher. If NAFCC is their accrediting body, then they should already be recognized then as a level 3 in Colorado Shines and therefore would still qualify. Does that answer your question?
Kind of.
I
guess we'll just see how it plays out. I'm thinking about those who may choose to be accredited but never rate.
So, well, if they become accredited, they can still go through and apply for the alternative pathway.
No, I understand that. There's just some who, for whatever reason, have chosen not to.
So, well, hopefully this will encourage them to at least engage in the system.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next slide, Charlie. So where this information is lying in our website, you can find it in two different places. One is under for families, under types of childcare, and we have information on families that might be looking into receiving the military childcare fee assistance, and how they can contact childcare where to begin that process. And then for programs that are interested in serving children and receiving this fee assistance for children who are with active military families, we have it under our 4 programs, and then have information on who they can contact if they would like to become a provider that can receive this assistance. But how a program, or how typically a program would participate, is that it's like CCAP, where the family seeks out the child care first and then starts the process with child care, where for the program to receive the fee assistance for their particular family. So although programs can look into how they can become one themselves, and advertise that as a feature that they have for their specific program, it is the families that do have to initiate the process in order for them to, for those programs to be able to receive that fee assistance. So, and then there is 2 hyperlinks below this picture for the flyers that are in English and in Spanish that explain the program. These are available on the hyperlink within our website as well. So you can get onto the Colorado Shines website and you can find the hyperlinks within our information of where they can find childcare aware and sign up for this fee assistance program if they're interested. All right, next slide, Charlie. I think that's the last one. All right, so this is the last, and so thank you so much. Is there any questions?
I'm dropping the link in this slide, or the link in the chat. To where you can find more information about this, but what a cool partnership.
When we send out all the information that we from the state TA day, I'll make sure that we include the flyer that was on the second slide that has the general information, and then the 2 slides that are the 2 brochures that are English and in Spanish.
Awesome. Any other questions on this partnership? Yeah, this is going to be a really awesome support to military families. I'm so excited that we can offer it. All right, cool. So we just have one more quick thing to discuss. And Michelle, I don't know if you want to make the announcement since you've been working on this. I think you disappeared for a sec. So we just want, there you are. Do you want to make the announcement? The celebration?
Sure. So we want to welcome Archuleta County as our new early childhood council. Yay! I don't know if Laura, if you're on. Nope, I guess not. So, but yay, we are so excited to have Archuleta County finally join as a new early childhood council. They were official as of yesterday. So very exciting. And we're happy to partner with them and help that county work towards getting all of their programs into Colorado Shines and on quality improvement. Yay!
And what this means is that every single county now in Colorado is represented by an early childhood council. So we have the entire state covered, and it is just such a cool thing to realize that all of our kids are going to be looked after by wonderful people. All right, so like I said, I apologize to those early presenters who I rushed through, because now we have a little bit of extra time. But does anybody have any questions, final thoughts, any other celebrations? think next weekend is our very last time that we're going to switch back from daylight savings time, which is kind of a trip. How many councils total? How many is this? 30?
This will make 35 councils in total.
Cool. It's a good number. Right. Any other questions, comments, celebrations? As I always do, I'll be sending this information back out to you as well as the recording. Oh, I do have another announcement. We normally, this year included, we're going to be combining the November and December state TA days since we have the holidays, chopping up the months and everything like that. So the combined date is going to be Thursday. Sorry, I'm just double checking. I think it's Thursday, December 8th. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was looking at November. Yeah, so there won't be a state TA day in November. The combined state TA day will be Thursday, November 8th. So what I'll do is I'll be adjusting, I'll cancel November's, I'll adjust the December invite to reflect the December 8th from 1 to 3. So just so everyone knows, we won't be meeting Thanksgiving week, unfortunately. Cool. Anything else? Thank you guys for hanging on. So much information. I think it speaks to how much amazing work is going on in the community. Reach out to your QRIS coordinator if you need anything from today kind of broken down or want to focus in on anything else. We appreciate you all so very much, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm and dry, and looking forward to seeing you all soon. All right, thanks everybody.